The times have changed, so has the delivery of news. We believe local news needs to be easily accessible. Hey, Owensboro, get with the times. Subscribe today at owensborotimes.com.
Hi, I'm Matt Castle with Castle Steel.
And I'm Daniel Dick with Daniel Dick State Farm.
And we're proud to partner with Owensboro Times.
It's never been more important than now to meet the candidates.
It's a vital part of our republic democracy for candidates to come forward and run for public office. I'm grateful for the individuals willing to run on the issues that are important to them and this community. Thank you for your willingness to serve the people of Owensboro.
Lastly, we want to thank you for joining us.
The town hall begins now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Owensboro Times Primary Election Town Hall. I'm Jake Boswell. We'll be moderating this event over the next half hour. Thank you for tuning in if you're streaming at home, and thank you for all of those who are here in person in attendance. First, we'd like to explain the format to you. Candidates drew for their spot on stage upon arrival today. That's why they're sitting in the order which they're in. Candidates were given topics ahead of time, but as far as the specific questions go, they've not heard them or seen them before today. You'll be hearing them around the same time that they will. Candidates will have 60 seconds to answer each question. We do have a timer here visible to them and to me on stage. And the order in which candidates respond will be reversed for each question. We'll start at one end of the table, and then the other end of the table will begin the next set of answers to questions. Each candidate will also be given 60 seconds to deliver a closing statement toward the end of the forum. Now, the community's input was factored heavily into putting these questions together and forming them. But we want to make sure that we address the most important topics to you, the voter, at home. But we do want to let you know that no candidates, or rather no guest here in the audience, will be able to address the candidates with any questions. They've all been put together ahead of time. Guests in attendance, we're happy you're here. Please hold your applause until the forum for this race ends. It's now our 8th of 9 segments today, and we're going to be joined now by the 4 candidates for the Davis County East Commissioner position. So we'll introduce you to our candidates now. Jimmie Sapp, Mark Irby, Janie Marksberry, and Matt Fitzgerald. Mr. Sapp, our first question will go to you because of the draw and where you're sitting at the table. We'll start with, what do you feel are the biggest barriers for local entrepreneurs to both open their business and to thrive? How do you plan to address those issues if elected?
Well, the biggest barrier I experienced when I opened my business 27 years ago was a location, and then building my structure and getting the name out of what I was doing. I operated on my own budget. I didn't borrow money. I took out all of my 401k and a life insurance annuity and started my business. And 27 years, it's been awesome to me. And if there's anyone that would like to repeat my model, I would be glad to share it with them. For, like I say, 27 years, I never advertised. I did something right. And the community, I want to thank the community of Davis County for, coming to my business.
Mr. Irby, the same question to you. What do you think the biggest barriers for local entrepreneurs, both to open a small business and to thrive, are, and how would you address them?
I believe some of the issues are location within Davis County and Owensboro. A lot of property is already purchased or bought up by local stores and other retail and restaurants. Anytime you drive around, some of the first things you see property up for sale, and then the next thing you see is a restaurant or a bank on that property. Some of it, I think it's just going to have to be the drive of the individual that wants to get out there and push forward. I know there's always hindrance whenever you're worried about taking out loans or trying to purchase property, but there's opportunities for individuals to look forward towards grants, other payback loans through certain financial federal assistance, but also even maybe reach out to the Chamber of Commerce and ask them for some assistance and their guidance with other individuals.
Ms. Marksberry, same question.
Jake, I'm glad you asked that question because I've been an entrepreneur for most of my career. I believe the biggest barrier to entrepreneurs is planning and zoning. I think they need to just get out of the way. I believe they need to relax their interpretation of state codes and rules. And the entrepreneurs are a huge driver of our economy, and the government needs to stay out of small business. And I believe we need to unleash our entrepreneurs here in town.
And Mr. Fitzgerald, same question to you. What do you feel like the barriers are for local businesses to get started and to thrive, and what would you do to address those issues?
The business owners that I've spoken to have talked about, of course, planning and zoning, and I think we've all heard a lot about that here today. Deregulation, relaxed text amendments needed, the lack of a workforce for certain skills, certain trades, startup capital. That's probably one of the biggest things that new entrepreneurs need. Site-ready land. The most pressing issue right now is supply chain issues.
Let's move on to our next question. And Mr. Fitzgerald, you'll be able to answer first this time around. We'll stay with economic development as a subject. Why do you think that Davis County's missed out on some major development projects that have been announced, say, in the last 6 to 8 months? And what steps would you take to ensure that Davis County is considered for future projects?
The biggest factor that I feel that businesses are going to look at is the sustainability of a workforce for what they are actually coming to Davis County for. They're also looking at site-ready land. They're looking at planning and zoning, of course. The big thing is the workforce. Do we have the people here that can fulfill the jobs that they're going to be providing? If elected commissioner, I would love to set economic development on fire and let them have unbridled room to have development, see if we can get rid of any regulations, any barriers, any hindrance, but also one-on-one with the companies, like what do you need so Davis County can know what we need to improve upon for in the future.
Ms. Marksberry, the same question. If Davis County's missed out on some major economic development that's been announced in the state or in the region in the last few months, why do you think that is, and what do you think we can do to make sure we're in consideration in the future?
Well, I believe, again, planning and zoning has hurt some of the corporations and companies that have tried to open here. I believe that we do have a lack of a workforce, a skilled and ready workforce for some of these companies that want to locate here. I believe that Owensboro and Davis County are somewhat geographically disadvantaged, which might cause us to miss out on some of these larger plants. But again, I think we need to just work with our small businesses as well. I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of great ideas and can drive the economy here. And so I think we just need to open up the planning and zoning. We have a reputation to not being business friendly, and we need to work on that.
Mr. Irby?
As the last forum we had, I spoke on getting the I-130, I-369 corridor done coming from Henderson and the I-165 coming from Bowling Green. I think once we get those processes done, but we're going to have to look into an area that I stated last time. We need an industrial area, an industrial park, if you would. I just mentioned that we're out of ground, but we do have some locations, just like the Kimberly-Clark location. They have over 1,000 acres that company's sitting on. I recently went out and looked at it, and they're not utilizing the entire property. I don't know what regulations are not causing other businesses to build around there, but we're going to have road, rail, and river, and we have that in Owensboro. But I think we're having that problem like everybody else is. It's hard getting people to go back to work, and I don't really have the answer to it, but I know that we have the jobs here in Davis County, and some aren't even getting up to go to work. So.
And Mr. Sapp, same question to you. Why do you think maybe Davis County's missed out on some of the major economic development that's been announced recently, and what can we do to ensure that we're in consideration in the future?
Well, I agree. Roads is one of our major reasons that these other places have attracted the jobs. And, you know, if we can't build roads to get their product in and out, they're going to keep going to places where Bowling Green, they've got 65 sitting down there. You know, we've got to have good interstates to move their product. Also, the workforce, you know, Commissioner Wathen spoke earlier, there was 600 graduates of OCTC. You know, that's a pretty good amount of workers that are ready to get out there and start paying their college tuition, I'm sure. You know, we've just got to work on getting planning and zoning, a comprehensive review of them to make everything level.
We'll move on now to I guess a simple question, but an important one. Mr. Sapp, based on the conversations that you've had with constituents, I'm sure you've had plenty since you filed to run for office, whether it be social, economic, otherwise, what do you feel has been the main thing you've been hearing, and how do you plan to address the concerns of the voters?
Yeah, there's several things I'm sure every one of us has heard, from drainage issues, and we need to find out if there's laws that will prevent us from going on a farmer that, you know, doesn't want to open his ditch up to relieve water off of highways and stuff that the public, you know, has access to. Planning and zoning, there again, we need a comprehensive review on them to make sure that everybody is treated equal. And like I say, the drugs that we've got in our city and state, and you know, is really, that's taken a lot of our workforce out, and it's caused a lot of, you know, problems with our law enforcement, and I think we need to add one sheriff to each east, central, and west to help out with that.
And Mr. Irby, same question to you. What have you been hearing from voters, and how do you plan to address the concerns that you've been hearing? About
the same topics. It's going to be your roads, your flooding, and your planning and zoning. I try to explain to them planning and zoning is regulated majority by Kentucky revised statute. Matter of fact, here it is. That's just the state tells what planning and zoning can do. Our local only has 22 articles. We do have a stormwater management policy that it's enacted that the county follows, along with the county follows the Kentucky revised statute 179300. That tells the individuals what county engineer can do on private property using county tax dollars. But the issue I would like to address, even though it is a state issue, is Highway 54. It's just unbearable. And I know a lot of people said, how can a county official handle with a state highway? And I said, through our legislation, but also we have a lot of county roads that hook to that main artery that come all the way from the east that a lot of people travel. And not to mention with the new middle school being open, the hospital, the new retirement home, and the TIF project that is going on, there's going to be a lot of traffic that is going to have to be looked at.
And Ms. Marksberry, what have you been hearing from voters as far as their concerns, and how do you plan to address them?
Well, I've talked to a lot of business owners, and they are having trouble just with having a ready workforce. They're having to work at about 30% capacity of what they need to keep their businesses running. Also, most voters are concerned about the lack of transparency in our county, both in the government and development stages. How many times do you hear of a new development after it's already been settled? For, one example of this would be the gambling hall that's coming to our mall. We didn't hear about that until it was already a done deal. Also, I'm the only candidate to bring up social issues before I was asked, because I do think we need more transparency. And then a lot of people asked me about the outer loop, because I was president of Stop the Outer Loop. And some of these candidates and even some of the elected officials are saying it was just a study. But what is unsettling about that with people in government is all of these commercial projects start with a study.
And Mr. Fitzgerald, same thing to you. What have you been hearing from voters, and those concerns they're sharing with you, how do you plan to address them?
A lot of the same issues: economic opportunity, A big thing for me in my everyday line of work is crime, especially juvenile crime. Drugs, so of course we always need to support our first responders 1,000%, make sure that their budget is where it needs to be to provide the resources necessary to combat this drug epidemic. But also the courts working with the juveniles, our nonprofits working with the juveniles, and making sure that we have ample opportunities for them, connecting all the dots and the resources that Davis County has to help these families before the juvenile gets in trouble. And of course, pension crisis, there's a group of people, of course, always concerned about that. Jail funding is another one. I'd like to work with the representatives in Frankfort to have that increased by the state.
Let's move on from economic talk now to social issues. We'll begin with a judge recently determining that the Confederate monument is the property of the fiscal court. Whoever's elected to office would then be a member of the fiscal court. So that's why it's an important question to ask you. What specific steps will you take if elected? Mr. Fitzgerald, you'll be the first to answer, to carry out the decision previously made to remove it from the courthouse lawn, and where do you think it should go?
Well, if the decision's been made to move it, then it needs to be moved. I do not want it destroyed. I do not want it erased by any means at all. Someone earlier brought up military monument, military cemetery somewhere here in Davis County. I am not about cancel culture whatsoever. But a decision's been made, then move it. I know a lot of people are tired of hearing about it. I do not like the fact that we wasted a lot of tax dollars on it being stuck in litigation. But if the decision's been made to move it, I have no problem with it being moved, just it needs to be preserved.
Ms. Marksberry, what about you? If the monument decision's been made to remove it, you're elected to office, will you carry out the decision that's previously made to remove it from the courthouse lawn, and where do you think it should go?
Well, most of the people that I've spoke to about this want to leave it where it is. I know Owensboro Times just did 2 surveys. The first one, I was watching the results as I answered the question, and 76% of the people voted to leave it where it was. And then they ran another survey. It was either yesterday or today. And again, when I looked on there, it was over 56% voted to leave it where it was. I don't think we should take it down. I think that it is part of our history. It's you can't erase history, and I think we could have teachable moments for our children if we leave it alone. I think that it's possible that another business owner here in town even offered to erect an opposite type statue for someone from the north, and whoever was really upset about this told them that they did not want to accept that, even though he offered to build another statue. So I don't really think this issue is over.
And Mr. Irby, the same question.
Yes, as of August 6th of 2020, the fiscal court voted unanimously to have it removed. At that time, there was a restraining order put on that held by Lucia Payne Jones. What the fiscal court was wanting to do was have a 5-member board put together. They had 6 weeks to get a site ready for that, then had 6 months to execute for where that site would have to go. So it's already been voted on that the statue be removed. We have to follow through with anything our current administration has done. I don't feel that the statue needs to be destroyed in no means. It should be preserved. Any parts of history should be preserved. If we don't have history, we don't have a future. So wherever this board decides this needs to be placed, the fiscal court will have to pass those recommendations for that relocation of the site. So we just have to stand on board with our current court system and move forward.
And Mr. Sapp, same question. What specific steps will you take to carry out the decision previously made to remove it from the lawn, and where do you think it should go?
Well, I'm not for moving it, but the current fiscal court has made their decision, and if it's, if they deem to have it moved, I know there's people out there that are willing to pay to have it moved, and they've got a location ready. But if it, after January 1, I'd like to see a new committee formed, and to where I would get to vote on it. And it'd be tough for me to move it off the lawn because I like history, and that's moving a part of history. And I'm one of the business people that has said that I'll make the first donation for a Union statue to be put on the north side that was given to the north if they wanted to have one put there.
We'll stay with social issues, and Mr. Sapp, this question will go to you first. There has been a push for a fairness ordinance or a non-discrimination ordinance in recent years in Davis County. Why do you think people feel it's necessary, and do you agree with that?
I don't know why they feel it's necessary because, you know, we've got federal laws that protect any renter or you know, and state laws. And for the local to get involved in that, I mean, you know, when you've got Big Daddy, Uncle Sam looking at it, I mean, we don't, it wouldn't matter. You know, if it went to a Supreme Court, we're out. You know, I wouldn't have a problem renting to anyone as long as they could pay their rent. You know, and I think that's one of the big issues is renters wanting this. But you know, I wouldn't vote for having a new law.
And Mr. Irby, I'll ask you the same question. There's been a push for fairness ordinance in recent years. Do you agree with people that feel it's necessary, and would you vote yes or no for one?
I just feel that the fairness ordinance, it's a redundant question because you already have the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that states federal guidelines of what each individual rights you should receive. You also have Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, 1964. That includes race, color, religion, sex, nation of origin. You also have the EEOC guidance that covers sexual harassment, covers pregnancy, race, color, religion. And so these issues are already covered. And so I don't know why we need this, just because we can form a new county ordinance or a new city ordinance, if we already have these laws that protect individuals. And, you know, and some people talk about renting issues, you know, or housing issues. I don't believe there's any realtor out there, especially the majority of realtors, have to follow under the Article 10 of the Realtors Association that covers the same coverage of what our civil rights law is. So I think it's an ordinance that's not really needed.
Ms. Marksberry, the same question.
Well, I believe everyone deserves to enjoy the beauty and bounty that we have in Davis County. And at the same time, I believe everyone has the right to enjoy the beauty and bounty of Davis County and live by their own religious personal convictions and beliefs. I am a realtor. I've been a realtor for 35 years. I know not to discriminate. I've never discriminated against anyone. In the beginning, when I became a realtor in 1985, you could not discriminate based on sex, which meant male and female at the time. And then they changed it to gender identity and sexual orientation. So they keep moving the goalpost on what sex means. And I believe that we just need to quit trying to tell each other how to live their life. You live your life, let me live my life. And let's quit trying to force one another to live a different life.
And Mr. Fitzgerald, it's the same question. There has been a push for a fairness ordinance in recent years. Why do you think people feel it's necessary, and do you agree?
So people felt it was necessary because they felt they were being discriminated against. That's my take on why there was a push for it from a particular group, a community. But with recent Supreme Court rulings, HUD rulings, the current presidential administration executive action, it's no longer needed.
Move along to another question. Mr. Fitzgerald, it's your turn to go first. If you were elected, we've talked about some economic and social when it comes to, or rather economic development. But if you were elected, the county does already have money and has a budget and a tax base. What would be your spending and funding priorities?
Spending and funding. Spending, once again, taking a look at our first responders' budgets. making sure they're where they need to be, maybe more, maybe less, depending on the administration. Definitely economic development. Anything that we can do for our existing small businesses to reinvest in them. Any support that we could give to OCTC, these like the GoFame programs, workforce programs, along with our nonprofit. So there's about $440,000 allocated toward different nonprofit social services in the budget currently. I would like to see that possibly mirror a Impact 100 grant, not exactly, but pick 4 or 5 different nonprofits every year, have them come in, give us a plan, and we allocate a bigger amount of money to 4 or 5 different ones every year.
And Ms. Marksberry, what about you? If you were elected, what would your spending and funding priorities be?
Well, I think workforce development training, getting our people back to work, and whatever we can do to help our local businesses that are struggling with that issue. I know our first responders need support, and I would like to work on some community welfare. I believe our seniors need help to stay and age in place. I would like to see more programs for them. I believe our youth need more self-esteem and skill building activities. And also I believe that we need to get nutritional food to those that live on a food island in our town. But as far as spending, a new tax is not always the answer.
Mr. Irby, same question.
Yes, if I was elected and had that opportunity, first thing I would do is probably get with our county treasurer and also our county attorney to see exactly what money we can give to what certain groups. I would definitely go to each department, pull their budget for the year, and ask department heads what issues they would like to address, being fire, safety, sheriff's department, our parks and rec. And then even take a look at our landfill and see exactly what our accommodations can be out there, if new cells need to be developed for future growth of the landfill. And if the money was allowed to be used in site-ready areas for the industry to come in, if we could partner maybe with the city of Owensboro to find these locations to get that industrial park that I would like to see put here, those would be issues that I would take a look at.
Mr. Sapp, if you were elected, what would your funding and spending priorities be?
Well, Davis County is part of the Bluegrass Crossings Center in Ohio County. They got 1,145 acres ready to go to bring any industry in here. That's quite a bit of ground. We would be a fifth of that. That saves us a lot of money on having to go out and buy 1,000 acres from farmers that don't want to sell their ground. I'd also want to keep taxes low. I'm not for raising any taxes. I would like to work with our school system, starting in the middle school, to find out what kids are, where their aptitudes are, and once they know their aptitude, try to push them into a job that, I've done well in my automotive business. You could make as much as a lawyer working on cars nowadays or more.
That concludes the question and answer portion. We're going to finish same way we started. So we'll start with Mr. Sapp. Now's your opportunity for your 60-second closing statement.
I want to thank you all for having this forum and thank the people that are watching it, thank the people that are here. Again, I've had a business for 27 years here in Davis County. I've lived in Davis County all my life in the county, and I've been privileged to drive every road in Davis County and the other counties as well. Also, I've got a great friend that's running for judge executive in Ohio County, and we've been personal friends for 40 years or more, and in Henderson County. So I believe I can help bring in some industry in here using my job experience, my experience owning a business, making sure that I'm debt-free each and every month, paying the bills, and, you know, the county needs to do the same thing, and I'll be that. Vote Jimmie Sapp.
Mr. Irby, your closing statement.
I'd like to thank Owensboro Times for putting on this forum. Guys, I've been with the Davis County Fiscal Court since 1998. I've worked in many different departments. I've done many different things. I've been elected as your county constable, your justice of the peace. I've been your soil and water supervisor for the past 12 years. I've worked with the men and women daily in these departments, and I know what it takes to run these departments. I know how to handle the budgets. I know how to look in the future and see where we need to add more funds. I feel that I'm the candidate that is most qualified for this position because I've been there, I've seen it, and I know day one when it comes time, if I was elected, I could walk in the fiscal court and start rolling right then and there. I just truly feel that in my heart. So I'm going to ask for your vote, Mark Irby, on May 17th. Thank you.
Ms. Marksberry, 60 seconds.
Davis County is a great place to live. We are blessed with great people, beautiful parks, and bountiful countryside. And we don't have to change what makes our county special in order to prosper. Here's what we need: more support for our first responders, more opportunities for our youth, age-in-place help for our seniors, more workforce training to get our people back to work, a comprehensive review of planning and zoning, repair our roads and fix our drainage, nutritious food for those on a food island. I am the only candidate running for East Commissioner with land development experience and hands-on understanding of planning and zoning issues. None of my opponents have this experience. One is a recently converted Democrat, and one is a rubber stamp for the status quo. I'm offering fresh eyes to address old problems with new solutions. County-wise, because I've been out traveling our roads for decades, I know our county and I know your needs. Let's see Davis County prosper while experiencing real change. Vote for me. Vote Marksberry in the primary. Thank you.
And Mr. Fitzgerald, your closing statement.
Thank you all for putting this on. Owensboro Times, Matt Castle and Daniel Dick. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. I want the American dream to be alive and well for every Davis County citizen responsible enough to work for it. I have been the man in the arena for my country. I served in the United States Marine Corps. I had a stint at the Davis County Sheriff's Office, which was not long enough, but God had different plans. I'm heavily involved in this community. I have embedded myself in this community and the current problems that we face. Davis County citizens want to work for a respectable wage. They want to own a comfortable home, and they want to raise their kids in peace. And Davis County needs to get out of their way and let them have those freedoms. I would appreciate your vote on May 17th. Thank you.
Now wraps up our 8th session of the day. Thanks to everybody who took the time to watch online streaming. Thanks to everybody who's here. And thanks to the candidates. We appreciate you guys taking time now relatively late in the evening to be here. We also want to thank the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum for allowing us to host this town hall here at their facility. And thank our presenting sponsors, Castle & Steel and Daniel Dick, State Farm Insurance Agent, and supporting sponsor, Mudd's Furniture. We'd like to leave you with the message that in this race, even though it's an East County Commission race, no matter where you live in Davis County, you will be able to vote for one of these candidates whenever you get your ballot. And don't forget to vote. It's important to stay informed, but also important to take action. So keep in mind you can vote on the primary election, May 17th. We have one more race this evening. Our 9th and final forum will take place at 8:30. The Davis County Sheriff's Office will have candidates up here from them. For now, the Davis County East Commission candidates. Thank you guys for being here.